And as I said earlier, machinery has been particularly bad for the Pacific, the imparator grass, which Francis was talking about earlier. That's basically been spread around the countries by dirty machinery, including runways and things, and then mine, and the fragments are passed on as far as the mine has gone. So it's really easy things to be dispersed right across the country by humans. It's probably happening a million times now right around the world as we speak. Another key thing to note is how long does the plant take to mature? Because if you're controlling or hope to control a species, you need to be able to revisit that site. Once you've controlled it, you need to revisit that site before the new seeds germinate, grow up and set seed again. Otherwise, all you're doing is getting a bigger seed bank, and it just takes longer and longer. So unless you can do that, you're not going to win the war. As I said earlier, sometimes plants mature faster under certain conditions, like in full sunlight. They might get to maturity a lot faster than plants in the shade. Some plants are always effectively mature, like Wedelia. That's still an impression that Wedelia is around. So Wedelia is always mature. It doesn't matter about the flowers, but any one of those fragments of the plant, you can pull it off and throw it over there, and it would start a new one. So it's always mature vegetatively. It spreads vegetatively as well by seed. So that's a really important thing to think about. It's not just things that set seed, it's also parts of plants that can continue to grow if they're left lying on the ground. How long is a seed viable? What that means is once it sets seed and the seed's in the soil, how long can it survive in the soil and still germinate? It's a massively wide range. Some things, the seed is not that viable. It rots easily. Some things it's only a couple of years. A lot of things are between 7 and 10 years. There's some that are 45 years. Like acacia species, probably Tomalingi would probably be 40, 45 years. Some are even 80 to 100 years, like dwarfs. So knowing what that time is really important. And we don't always have that. Sometimes we can get information from where things have been controlled before, or the PRISMSS assessments. But you have to, basically that means how long your operation is going to last. So if it's viable for 8 years, you're going to have to revisit that site for 8 years until all the seed is germinated. You're sure all the seed is germinated and has got written on. If you let a plant mature in that time, then you've got to start that 8 years all over again. You can see how really important timing is. Doesn't mean it's hard, you just have to have a good plan. We talked a little bit about this one, is any environmental conditions which increase or decrease growth and maturity, because those are things you can use to your advantage. And as I said, this plant here, Raminis, in the sun, it can mature in 3 years. It will have fruits ready for birds to take away. In the dark forest, it takes 12 years. So we know that controlling this stuff out in the open is a lot more critical right now. We have time to get to the stuff that's in the old forest, because that's all spreading a lot slower. Whereas out in the sunlight areas where resources are high, it's maturing fast, we need to cut that off. Does that make sense? Do you understand now what I mean by environmental conditions and ways that impacts on plants? And what time of the year propagules or seeds are dispersed. Obviously this is really important for things like what Francis has just been dealing with. So things that mature in 3 months, 3 or 4 months, you need to make sure you can get back and control control those before that grows and sets seed. And I keep saying that because it's the most important thing in weed control. And it's really important for those things that mature really fast. Those are the hardest things and they require the most resources. Plants that take 3 years to germinate, grow up and set seed, you've got lots of time. You've got 3 years to get back to that site. But ones that grow up and mature and set seed in 4 months, you've only got 3 months. Every 3 months you have to go back and control it to stop more seed being set and to slowly wear out the seed bank. It might be related to a mowing regime, you know. So if a mower is going to go through there every 4 months, you want to make sure you get there before the mower, not the chicken, so that there's less of those fragments to spread. Ideally you don't want to cut it at all because it's just adding to your workload. And you can manage that in your program. So, for example, if a plant, in this case Mycania, flowers at a certain time of year, then you can plan your control operation prior to that. It means you don't have to go any other time in the year, because at this time it's just growing, it's not producing any seed, so it doesn't really matter. You don't have to go back and control it. In fact, if you don't, you'll save money. You just got to focus it on the right time of the year. Is there a best practice control method? So what that's all about is being both effective and efficient. So effective means if you're going to go and control the species, that it's actually going to kill it. You're not going there just to look at it and wave the machete at it. You have to effectively kill it. You have to have a method that you know is going to work. You don't want to come back the next time and go, oh, that didn't quite work and these ones have set seed, because then again you're back to the start of the program. And efficiency. It takes time and effort to go out and control these weeds. So you want the most efficient way you can do it. You don't want to be spending 100 hours doing it if you could do it in 2. Not very good for the mind if you're constantly battling this thing and you're spending a lot of time and effort on it, and when you could just be doing it in a couple of hours. That's what best practice is. So for some plants we have good best practice control methods. In the Pacific, this is what I think this is going to be at. But how are you going to go about it? What herbicide are you going to use? What rate? Etc. etc. You need to decide what is the best way I can kill it reliably, with using a minimal amount of time and resources, but still be safe for the environment. And so if you go and build a building, you have a plan. It specifies how many bolts, how many pieces of timber at what length, at what grade, and it has a plan of how it's going to be built. It's pretty straightforward, isn't it? And at the end of it, you can take the plan, you can go and look at it and go, oh yeah, that's been built, that's the right sort of timber, it's the right number of bolts, the right type of bolts. How do you do that in the natural environment? It's a lot harder. And that's all part of best practice. So by using best practice consistently, you can demonstrate that what you have done has been successful. And the ultimate question is, can you control it faster than it can spread? If you can't, you're never going to get rid of it. So, why bother starting? You have to be able to control it faster than it can spread. Otherwise, you're just chasing it down the valley. You kill it over here and it's going over there, and you're just going to do that for the rest of your life. There's got to be an end point. That's the idea of priority weeds of low incidence. So these are key questions to determine if it's realistic or not whether you can control this priority species. To some degree, you need to be able to answer all those questions about each species. So there's other things that can help you along the way, as well as the plant characteristics. There's also your site. So depending on what your site is, it's going to make a massive difference in whether or not it's achievable. You have to across big cabins and hike for 10 hours to get to the site, it's going to take a lot longer than if it's next to the road, where you can just drive up, jump out, pull out the backpack, it, jump back in and off you go. So that's a massive determinator of whether or not you can be successful. For example, this side, this is all old, really difficult forest. You can move maybe 60 metres in an hour. It's like you come across here, there's a 40-metre cabin, then you have to go all the way, find a way around and really thick jungle with crevasses and stuff. Whereas on the lava, the grey bits, sure, it's pretty tricky, but at least it's open, you can see where you're going. So sites that are on the lava compared within the forest are much easier. To give you an example, it's a strong characteristic of that island for wind control. There's control, if you can access it via the lava, then it's a lot easier. It's just an example of that. This is all the old forest, young forest lava. If you can capture that stuff on a GPS or in your background map, then you can use that in your control program to make the whole project more feasible or more doable. Also locations you have to think about. So this is Mycania and Yat when they were trying to control it before the wind distributed it throughout Yat. But some of the things that Francis had to think about was, this area here is inundated by the sea. There's lots of peak rain events. This is valuable food crops. No one's really going to be keen on it spraying in there. And it's private land, so you can't even necessarily enter that without getting their permission. Those are all things that make the control program more difficult. All those challenges and issues you have to face just to deal with it. So there's good things and there's bad things. Good things are like access roads, I don't know if that is not, but an obvious example of Niue, most of the sites are pretty close to the road. So that's a really good asset to recognise, including in how you're going to go about managing the weeds. And there's also things like dealing with private property. There's lots of bad things. There might be, one particular time of the year, it might be just about impossible to go into an area because of wasps. You might be dealing with a plant that you need to foliar spray. So ideally you don't want to be trying to plan that kind of operation in the cyclone season when it's raining all the time, or you may have to use something in your spray mix to allow you to do that. Those are what I mean by properties of the site, where you're going to be working. There's good things and bad things that are good things will help you, make the job easier, and bad things are going to make it a lot more difficult. So you need to think about those in the planning stage. There's no point in going out and doing it and go, oh shit, there's a billion wasps there, can't spray that today, because you've already started, and if you let it grow and mature and seed, then you're back to the beginning. So you have to think about these things from the start. So also in there is just simple tables. You notice I use tables a lot, mainly because that's easy to copy and paste. But also I'm not into writing, so I'd rather write a sentence and then have a table. And it's just easy, and people can see straight away. So I use tables a lot in there. I try and make it as easy as I can for everybody. But there's a table in there which asks you to identify what the characteristics of the site are and what is the advantage they provide to you, and also what is the characteristics of the site which are bad and how you can minimise that badness. Whether it means you have to plan your operations so you're either side of the bad wasp time, or